Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of IceGear Kajita. Hope that's the right pronunciation. Now look at this. It's beautiful, but looks extremely confusing. And I think a lot of people who got this app, by the way, this is currently on sale for just $5. And in fact, all this developer's apps, I think all of them anyway, at least all the effects apps are on sale. Like Kajita here, for example, this app for gated filtering. And Yukawa, now I did walkthroughs on both of those. So Yukawa is a little bit similar to Kajita because it also has elements of multi-tap delay and a little bit of filtering. You have a stereo delay and stuff in there, but really they're very different. Yukawa is just a totally different UI. You're going to come up with different stuff. It doesn't really give you, it gives you different control, let's say, than what Kajita gives. If you watch my videos on both these apps, you'll understand the difference. Now, Kajita, you can get very, very deep. If you look here up in this part, the upper part of the UI, this is where we get full access to everything. Every little blue dot that you see here opens up a pop-up where you have more controls. But if you look down on the bottom part, like this whole section here, this pre-delay section, here we just have some of the main controls. They're basically controls mainly related to levels and times of different delay taps. Then here we have main controls for the main delay section, which is this section here, and then some controls for the reverb. Now generally, I think once you learn how this part works, personally I generally stay up here and I completely ignore this part. This app is very confusing at first, and the manual doesn't help that much because there are really a few important things I think missing from the manual. I spent quite a lot of time figuring this out. When this came out, I played around with it. I never really learned how to use it properly. I decided I would make a video on it because I thought so many people who have this app don't understand how to use it. I'm going to make a video on it. And I spent really, like, it's easy to understand 80%. As always, the devil is in the details. It's understanding that other 20% or close to that where most of the work goes. And I sent the dev Satoshi a few questions and he explained things to me, and that was really helpful. Thank you, Satoshi. But yeah, maybe just put a bit more of that stuff in the manual. Make things a bit clearer there. Now, let's come back to this guitar example a little bit later. And now I'm going to have a really simple little input. So here I've got line hum that I did a video on the other day. I'm enjoying this. I mentioned in that video, this is monophonic. And it has that little glitchy thing, which I wouldn't always want. But for this, I really like it. So here we've got a mix of melodic input with that little click that gives us this percussive element. So it's very interesting input for this, I think, because it gives us a little bit of that flavor of what we'd get putting this on drums, but keeping this melodic part as well. So I think this input is very nice to make things clear. So let's just ignore this bottom part altogether. Once you understand the top part, the bottom part will be completely clear. And, you know, I find that understanding things a lot of the time, it actually helps to work from the back to the front. Really. So if we go here, it's very easy, right? We have a wet and dry knob. So that's the dry input. So there we've just got the wet, for example. Double tap to reset to default, thank God. Now here we are controlling the mix for the wet output. So let me take a few things in and out. So first of all, obviously, if we take all of these down, then now we just have dry input, right? Even though wet is up here. So let's just first put up early reflections. So this is sending in these early reflections. The way these sound will depend on the settings here in this little button that opens this early reflections controls pop-up. We bring that down. Now here we've got delay 1. So in the main delay section, these 3 taps here are considered delay 1. The difference between delay 1 and delay 2 is that these go through this filter section. We have some controls for that here, and we have more controls here. Delay 2, with these taps here, this goes through a panner, right? So let's say, for example, this is really important to understand when you're trying to learn how to use this app. Like, let's say, for example, I have a setup where I have delay 2 coming in here, but delay 1 is not coming in. Well, tweaking these controls, for example, is not going to do anything, because delay 2 doesn't go through the filter, and you can see that here, right? These 3 things go through this filter. These things here go through this panner. So now that we've got delay 2 up, if I play with this panner, especially if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear that, but as long as you're using something stereo. Okay, you can hear that. Now, then we have this reverb amount for the main wet mix. So how much reverb is going into that? And listen, sounds lovely actually. And so here we have the controls for what is being sent in to the reverb. So let me just take everything down except the reverb. So again, obviously now if I take all of these down, even though this is up, it's not getting any input. So we're just hearing dry signal here. So here we're controlling the amount sent from this pre-delay section over here into the reverb. And that's what that sounds like, and that's really nice, that little sort of snappiness and brightness that it's giving. And here we're controlling that. So now we just got delay 2 up full and reverb here up full. Listen to that, and let's just compare that with what delay 2 would sound like if we just fed it in without going through the reverb. Okay, so to do that, we'd take this reverb amount down, and now we just bring in delay 2 here. So that's not going through the reverb. That's it going through the reverb. And so of course we can have a mix of those and dial them in exactly as we want, and we could also tweak that live. You know, this is really designed for live performance. Let's go back to the reverb here. So this is delay 1 going through the reverb. And that's a little bit of a mix of both of those. And here, just the early reflections. So if I go back to this section here, for example, and I play with early reflections, things like the pre-delay time and the density, you can hear the sort of difference that makes. Okay. So I think for now, let's just keep things simple. I'm going to just have delay 1 and 2. So now the wet signal just has delay 1 and 2. We don't have these early reflections. We don't have this reverb. Ah, well, actually, no. First of all, I should just briefly look at the controls. So let me just bring in a little bit of everything into the reverb. And let's look at the controls we get here. So tap here. This is really nice. This is like a little sort of XY control. You just play with this by moving your finger vertically and horizontally. And so you can control exactly what is getting through there. So that's controlling the filter for the tail, this for the early reflections. And we have levels for both of those. High frequency damping, room size, and time. Now, let me just change this back. So I'm going to just over here, again in the mix, bring down the reverb and early reflections amount, so we've just got delay 1 and delay 2. And so let's look at the filter section. So I'm going to bring delay 2 down. Filter here, so we have a few key controls here, right? Like this cutoff, that's this. Resonance, that's this. Drive, that's this. Mix, that's this. So basically what we're getting extra in here is these modulation controls. So you can see that something like that filter cutoff would be really nice to tweak live. Now see how different it is if I bring that modulation depth down, so that's modulating the filter cutoff. Let's bring that up again. And let me increase the rate. Now what's a pity is that you don't get any control over the LFO type that's doing the modulation. You do have synced and unsynced option, that's nice, and some stereo spread control. So we have this drive here as well. So all that stuff can really make a difference. Now by the way everybody, I highly recommend if you're playing around with this that you use a limiter. Because you're playing a lot with feedback and filters and things, it can get really out of hand. So I've got a limiter on here. Now let's just jump to something different. So here, I just made a note for myself. This one's good for tweaking the filter cutoff. So let's just play with that a little bit. Let me just jump in here to the main control. So let's bring in a little bit of modulation. Maybe unsynced. Okay. Jump onto this. So here also, for this main delay section, we have a saturator here at the input. And so we can really change the sound by playing with the level of that saturation and the drive amount. Okay. So, main delay here, we have these 3 taps. So basically what we're setting here is a point at which it'll read from the delay buffer and send out its delay at a certain time. So we have separate control of left and right. Right? And again, you know, modulation. We can invert the phase. And here we have control over the tempo. So this will go up to 50 milliseconds free time, up to 1 second, and 5 seconds. And remember, this is just one tap that we're controlling here. All these taps have separate timing controls, obviously. Just reset that. Okay, so we've got 3 different taps there that are all the same. And this is all delay 1, remember? So that's this. We have here these ones going through the panner. So tap 5, tap 4, you can see those names there. Again, we could play with the timings for these. It's pretty nice. And so here we have this cross tap. So this will send the left delay to the output of the right delay and vice versa. Now here we have this feedback and cross feedback tap. So this will feed the output back in itself, and the feedback one will just feed left back into left. The cross feedback one will feed left back into right and vice versa. So again, tapping here, we get the detailed controls, including, by the way, very important, the damping here. If you have high feedback levels and you don't use this damping, you're going to get like crazy hot signal and potentially destroy your speakers and ears unless you're using a limiter. So be very careful with this stuff. If you start to get things going really out of control when you're tweaking things here, try and play around with the damping. So the levels for these are set here. Okay, so this is the level for this one, the feedback. So listen to that. See the damping going on there? This is the cross feedback. So we could change the timing of that here. We could change the damping. And we could do some modulation. Put that back the way it was. Here we're controlling the amount of early reflections going in to the delay from here. Remember, the sound of this is set here. These two controls are incredibly important. Let me take down the early reflections and the reverb amount up here. So now we're just hearing delay 1 and delay 2. So if I bring these down, even though we have stuff set up here, in this first delay section. So remember, this is a two-stage delay. This main delay gets its input from this part. These are the knobs that control the level of that input. If you turn those down, this delay has no audio input to take its buffer from. So anything you do here won't be heard. So this one is just a straight input. The left output from here becomes the left input of the main delay. This one is a cross input. The left output of the pre-delay goes into the left output of the pre-delay goes into the right input of the main delay. Let's listen to that. You hear the difference? So we could have both of those, maybe in different amounts. And we could play around with these cross feedback and feedback amounts. Let's bring in a bit of the early reflections. Maybe play around with the filter up here. Note, by the way, there's also a mix level for that filter. Also nice to tweak live. We can drive that. Listen to that, that's so nice. I think this is really nice delay for all sorts of things, you know, dubbed, anything where you're basically using delay as an instrument. You know, whether it be like dubbed techno, or maybe certain types of ambient, or stuff like shoegaze or indie. Great. And only $5 at the moment, and like, look how much work would have gone into this. Now, let me change this. And let's look at... I don't think I tapped on this panner part. Look, you can also modulate the panning. Now remember, this will only work if delay 2 is on. Oh, and it's not. Let's change that. Sorry, that's the send into the reverb. My bad. Hang on, let me reset that. Let's put up delay 2. Bring everything else down. Okay, pan that over there. Now we got modulation. And we can have that synced or not. I'll bring that down and just put it back in the center for now. Okay, let's just check our setup here. So everything going into mix, send to reverb. We just got the pre-delay and early reflections. Now, what's going on here? If you listen to this, there's a lot of modulation going on. So I made a note for myself, tweak pre-delay to X-delay modulation amount to the cross delay. So that's this here. Now this is the only problem really with a UI where so many things are hidden behind pop-ups. If you open something like this up, you might have to play around a little or look around a little bit to find where that's coming from. So you see, let me bring this modulation amount down. hear the difference? Let's just change the time there. So remember, here we're shaping what is getting fed in to this knob. Here we've got the amount up full, so that's very full on. So pre-delay section, feedback here. So this is related to this knob. So if we have this down in this pre-delay section, we're only getting one echo, we're not getting any feedback. Turn that up and we're getting feedback, and if I then play with these, you'll hear that typical sound of things changing. But maybe you're not hearing it very much because of the damping here, which is misspelled dumping, by the way. You hear that now? So you see what I mean? The damping is incredibly important. You really need to pay attention to that. So let me bring their times down. So you see how important the timing control is? What a difference it'll make if we put it down. Or if we put it higher. Then we're starting to get rhythmic effects and it's a bit out of control, isn't it? You bring that modulation down. That's with no damping, you hear that feedback building up. If I didn't have a limiter on, that would probably get really out of control quickly. Just adjust damping. Tempo. So let's adjust these. Bringing the damping down again. Okay, let's bring that feedback down. You're still hearing that though because, there's cross feedback and feedback going over here in the main delay section, and remember that's taking input from this. So early reflections, so let's have a quick play with that again. So let me just bring down everything over there except early reflections. So here the time of the pre-delay, the density of those early reflections. Let's maybe put the filter back to 0 there. Maybe hear things a bit clearer. Right, you can hear that very clearly now, I think. Again, this can be modulated. So here we've got some controls for the pre-delay. Whoops, let me take that modulation down again. some controls for the pre-delay going into the reverb section. And look, yes, that's up here. That's good. And reverb's up here, so we'll hear things. Otherwise we wouldn't. So again, makes a big difference. I bring that modulation down again. And here, the timing controls for the signal being sent cross into the delay. So remember, pre-delay, left output going into main delay, right input, and vice versa. And here, for the just straight feeding, pre-delay, left output into into main delay, left pre-delay output going into main delay, left input. So just flick through a few of these. So we've also got this bypass button here. I'm tweaking that filter cutoff. Let's tap here. Bringing in a bit of modulation there. Pretty cool. Let's say bring up the drive. Nice. Here, changing the filter cutoff. Remember, this is being modulated. I made a note for myself, tweak tap 4 and 5 filters. So remember, these taps don't go through this filter section, but they have their own little filters in here. So here, just playing with that filter cutoff. And let's try and push the resonance. So there's no drive control in here, note. Let's try the other one. So let's change the cutoff. Nice and squelchy. Again, the timings set here are going to make a big difference. Let's play around with the levels here going into the main delay. Let's just bring in a little bit of early reflections up here. That's nice wee punchy percussive quality, nice and bright. That's that early reflections. Now here, just the main feedback from the pre-delay. Here, the cross feedback from the cross input from the pre-delay. So straight input, cross input. Let's have a bit of both of those. Play around with the damping here. What am I doing here? It's not that noticeable because delay 1 and delay 2 are not up here. Ah no, that's the send to reverb. That's one aspect that gets a bit, I often get confused. You know, because of the scrolling UI, sometimes I come over here and I think that it's the mix, but it's actually just the send to reverb. But let me bring up delay 2 and delay 1 here. You hear the feedback building there. Right. Jump back to the guitar for a second. So it's really nice on this sort of thing. That's pretty. Let's bring up this amount of early reflections in the mix and see how much that adds. Let's try the reverb. No reverb at the moment. So reverb's just getting from the pre-delay. So let's increase these. And let's say change the size of the, or let's change the time. Oh, nice. Just play around with those filters a little bit. Let's see if those can be automated or modulated. Let's see. It's annoying because those are pop-ups. I can. Okay, great. Yeah, so look, that's exposed. So you can use an external LFO or whatever to play with that. Beautiful. So anybody who likes using delay as an instrument, I think they're really going to enjoy this app. Good deal at $5. I like this developer. There's a lot of attention to detail. Hope you enjoyed the video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.